You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Challenge us at Wexford Insurances 0818 31 30 30.
I'm joined now by Nicholas Dunne from Killowen Farm, who picked up the Food Producers Award at last week's Wexford Business Awards. Start by telling me about what winning this award means to you.
Well, absolutely, it's a huge achievement for us to have achieved this award. Business very much is based locally, so we're absolutely delighted to have won this. You know, our business was built from our local retailers and so forth by taking our product in the early days, and to come back now and actually achieve something local to achieve being good business and to get the recognition of doing it, and to get from your local area is huge to us.
Tell me about the history behind Killowen Farm.
Yeah, originally I suppose how it all came about really was myself and my wife we were dairy farmers, and we'd actually built our business up a good bit, and then we were actually looking out there to see what was out there, and we were looking sort of say at the frozen yogurt market, and we'd suddenly come to terms that wasn't a viable option in Ireland at the time. So the next thing we heard was that actually Killowen Yogurt, which was originally owned by Paul Kinsella, was giving up. So I suppose the history of Killowen really came from Slaney Side Dairies, which was taken out by Avonmore, and then Paul Kinsella actually had the Slaney Side Dairies, brought it into Killowen, started to make yoghurt on it for a number of years. I think he was about 15 years doing it, and then he actually retired from the business. We heard he was retiring, gave him a call, went down, and the original time that we started out, actually two other friends of mine that were dairy farmers at the time decided to get into it, and we took it on for the first year. And the first year was a very difficult piece because it was actually about building the business and getting it on a sound footing, which is very difficult in the sense that we had to do new packaging and so forth, and then go back out to the local retailers and so forth and get a footing. So the first year was difficult to get over, and with three people in it, and we currently had a manager in the business as well, we probably had to set up a bit wrong, and we knew that we had to set up a bit wrong. So I suppose where we had to take it then was we had to agree that either we were going to close the business or one of us would take it on. And from, I suppose, day one, I always recognised back in my mind, Killowen has huge potential. It's there. Somebody kept telling me it was there. So we decided, well, right, we said to the two lads, right, let's give us a lash out and see what can happen at it. So that's where we get it to actually get it into both myself and my wife to start the business. I suppose we look at that then, that was coming into the end of 2005, and so we took it on from there.
I'm looking for you to provide our listeners with some advice today. Wexford is full of artisan food producers. Now, the Killowen brand can be found in almost every supermarket in the country at this stage. How did you get to that stage in business yourself?
Yeah, I suppose we originally started, and we started actually we started very small, and I suppose we're lucky that our local retailers and our locally owned retailers actually took it on, and we were very grateful. Without sort of naming it, I suppose is like that we're very lucky in the sense of that we went to all the local retailers in on that, and they took us on. We then sort of went into the food service type business and divided our business into two sides. So we had two sides to our business. We'd done all the farmers markets and that, and got our name out there and got people to recognise the name out there. We then got involved in the organisations, like you need to be involved in your local enterprise board, your leader board. They're the key pieces because they actually provide you with mentors, like I say, for the quality part of our business, and that's an extremely important part of our business. We don't use any preservatives, no additives, no colourings, so that's very difficult to produce that without having the high end of quality. So we would have used the enterprise boards to use a mentor to get our HACCPs and our BRCs together. We use the enterprise board, and particularly on owners managers course. Like there's 3 people in our business today has done owner managers course. There's not a year that doesn't pass that actually we don't actually do some course. We've done courses with Board BIA. We've done about 4 or 5 different courses with Board BIA. We've done 2 or 3 with Enterprise Ireland.
So, Nicholas, tell me about the stages of evolution that you went through and how you ended up here where you are today in relation to it.
Okay, if we start from the very start, we actually our first day's sales was actually in the farmers market. First Saturday that we actually had the farmers market actually opened it in Escorty. We were able to launch a product that morning. So that was our first sale. So every Saturday morning then, we started in the farmers market. So that grew then that we're actually able to get it into the local supermarkets. The locally independent supermarkets is the foundation of our company. So those guys got involved. We went in there, started there on that. So then we got recognition within there. People would have visited the farmers market and seen we were there, and that actually added more. So we were able to actually spread out from Inniscorthy. We had to spread out. We always had a great presence in Wexford and Wexford Town. It's been extremely good to us. So that then brought us into the sort of say the food side of things. So we got some of the big family-owned hotels in the county have been hugely supportive of us, and they took in the product. So that was sort of say the first year or two of our business was very much based locally. And we didn't actually step outside the local area, because in the sense of we knew that we could cater for this piece. And the whole thing here is about actually being able to every week fill those orders, and we knew we had to take the business at a reasonable pace. So that got us over, say, the first year or two, give us a bit of credibility. The next piece then that we knew there was opportunities within food service, because we actually at this stage, Board B had got engaged with us, and they sort of said, well, right, listen, you should be looking at food service. And we built that, say from the first week, was started off at a couple of units, and that today runs into, the quantity is actually probably a ton or a ton and a half, maybe 2 ton a week.
Explain to me the term food service.
Food service is actually where we supply into contract caterers, all the hotels, delis, all that line of business really is the food service. So like really our business is divided into two sides. We have a food service side of the business where we supply into hotels, restaurants, and that's all done by one just large distributor does that for us. And then we have the retail side of ourselves, so we have all the main supermarket chains that we actually try to do business with. So very much we have two sides for our business. The reason we have two sides to our business is that it gives us security that we don't actually have all our eggs in the one basket.
So what you did is you piggybacked the contacts that the food services provider had with a view to going the back door to all of those local providers across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we got in there, because like if you think about it, if you're sitting down in the hotel in the morning, you're eating your breakfast and you have your Killowen, well, who are these? Like initially when we were started our first year or two, maybe 3 years in Wexford, we used to get people that were actually have to be in hotels in Wexford, and they would sort of say, no, listen, I got your product or whatever, where can I get it locally? Or where can I get it in Galway, where can I get it in Dublin, whatever. So that gives us the emphasis that we could actually know that we could actually push it out. So then sort of say, we're moving on then to the next phase of business. When did the next real break came? The next real break came for us in 2008. We're actually starting to push ourselves into the Dublin market and trying to get a presence out there. And we knew we started to venture into maybe sort of doing a bit of work without mixing the yogurt and the fruit. We actually decided that we actually would make a type of compote, and we'll see how that would go. So we started to put that into a few farmers markets and that, and we found there was a bit of traction into it. The next thing, we got an inquiry from a reasonable sized supermarket, probably one of the smaller chains of supermarkets, came to us and actually asked, do we do a private label side of it? So we looked at it, and it was actually to do a comparison maybe to some of the finest products that were out there in other supermarkets, a comparable high-end market. So what we actually done there, we brought the girl down to the product development manager from that supermarket down to our plant. And what we actually done then was, and we actually were able to steer her into a direction that we wanted to go. We started to say, well, right, this is what you're currently looking from, but how about if we give you this? And we knew what we were after making up. There was a comparison product out there on the premium side. We actually knew we had a better premium product come. And straight away she snapped it up, brought it back. And that gave us great kudos in the sense of, now we're actually supplying a private label product, which brought the business to a different level. When you actually have your own, and say just Killowen brand, quality is always paramount, but you're always protecting the Killowen brand. But actually, when you bring it into a private label, you actually have to step up again, and you don't actually think about that in the sense of what we're actually now doing is actually we're protecting our own brand still. We're also protecting the supermarket's brand. So that actually brings a lot of complications to the business in the sense of our quality control and so forth, which is, you can look at it as a negative, but we look at it as a positive. That brought us to that level of where we were in 2008.
Just for the benefit of listeners that wouldn't be familiar with the term private label, just explain that to me, please.
Private label is and it's becoming, when you're shopping in your supermarkets now, the private label side of it is the label that's under the supermarket brand. That's what that is. So what we're actually doing is we're contract making for the supermarket, and they're putting their own label on it.
So you're providing your product, but it's being packaged under the supermarket label.
Yeah, I think almost think is that would be a fair assessment of it. But what we would sort of say, Killowen brand actually is that bit better, and always will be that bit better, because you will always put more emphasis in your product, and all our product development actually goes to Killowen before it'll go anywhere else. Our next break came sort of say when one of the larger probably European supermarkets came to us and sort of said, listen, is it possible for you to supply us with a yogurt, premium yogurt, for Ireland currently? And we sort of said, well, right, yeah, we'll have a look at it. And then the downturn actually happened in the market, and they sort of went off the boil a little bit. But we kept them well warmed up, kept them informed, yeah, listen, we can do this. And we brought it to a stage where that when you decide you want to run with this again, we have it ready to go. So after, in 2010, they actually came back to us, and we launched that product in July 11, just a year ago, and for Ireland, and we distribute it right through that supermarket in Ireland today. And 2 weeks ago, we actually started supplying for them in the UK.
Well, there seems to be great progression after taking place throughout the business over the last number of years. Each year is building on the previous year. I'd like to know what type of research you put into the flavours and also to the packaging of the product itself.
Yeah, I suppose they're the real difficult parts, in the sense of that you have to keep moving the piece on, and I suppose last year people would have noticed that we changed our packaging, and everyone would have said to us, "Listen, wasn't before your time you changed that." But I suppose to go back to the story about that, we're changing that for the last 3 or 4 years, and like we went into changing our packaging, and we sort of said, "This could be quite simple. We'll go to a design company; they'll do up the design for us, and we'll agree it, and it'll be done in 2-3 months." It took us almost 2.5 years to actually bring it from the day we started to we actually ended up actually having the solution we have today, and we're still not over happy with it. We think it's a progression, and packaging and design of packaging is only each lot you bring out is just a progression, because you're matching what the market is telling you at the time. But those 2.5 years are extremely difficult. You know, as we were sort of saying, will we ever get it done? Will we ever get it done? We sort of say, listen, there's people coming out, and they seem to have changed their packaging twice in that period. But I suppose we got it reasonably right. But it's just a very difficult part. You think you just get in there and get it done or whatever, and it just doesn't happen like that. It just takes time, but you need to put the time into it. To answer the second part of your question, which is the flavouring, and this is the piece that we were constantly working at. And I suppose to understand actually how we do that is actually we currently look at probably about 30 flavours a year. And at the end of the year, we're looking to have one flavour out of that actually will work. So what we actually do is and it's difficulty with fruit, and it's where our product development is coming from. Currently, what we need to do, because the biggest threat to our yogurt is a yeast and a mould. So currently within Ireland, there is no one currently producing aseptic fruit. And what aseptic fruit means is that it's fruit that's cooked, and actually it's bagged straight away, so it has no contact with the atmosphere. So when you're actually making up this fruit, and the fruit only contains fruit and sugar, so we can't have any outside contamination to that. So aseptically filled is actually that doesn't actually touch the air, and it's put straight into a bag, palleted and dropped off to us, and that's it. That's fruit that we know won't contaminate our yogurt.
Tell me about some of the market research you do once you do decide on a number of flavours.
Yeah, I think what we do, and this is what we actually do quite good into this, in the sense we go to the people that really know about it. Like we'll take that now. Say if we're doing a new product or launching a new product, we'll talk to the likes of Board Beer, and we'll go to them and sort of say, well, what's the procedure? And they sort of say, well, listen, we'll get you into focus groups and taste panels and so forth. So we'll do up the product, go to Board Beer, right? They sort of say, well, right, we'll help you with this then to get it into a taste panel or whatever. So we'll get 10-15 people into a room, give them the product the week before, let them try it out or whatever, and they'll come back to us and they'll give us actually a result on how they think about it and what they thought of it and so forth. So that's very much the way that we'll actually get a flavour for it. Then we'll actually bring it out, and we might put it into a few supermarkets or whatever, bring it to the buyers. And the buyers are the most critical people you could get. Sometimes the job they can taste product at some stage. But actually, when you get them in, and you'll pick out the ones that are actually good on taste. And you pick out, particularly we would have used in and continue to use, is some of the chefs in Wexford have extremely good tastes. And we give them a product, and they will sort of say, yeah, listen, that tastes good or whatever, I've tried the lads, or there'll be a group of chefs that will try it out. They're super, because they're very, very, they don't actually mind offending you. Or, yeah, listen, there's potential there, you need to do X, Y, and Z.
One of the main things that I admire about you and Killowen Farm itself is the fact that you've utilised all of the resources available out to you. From a government agency perspective, you've had interaction with Enterprise Ireland, Teagasc, Board Bia, Wexford Local Development and the Enterprise Boards, who all seem to have been very supportive of the business over the years. But it couldn't have been all great days in Killowen. Tell me about some of the bleaker days you had.
I suppose some of the bleakest things, one I suppose the bleakest pieces we would have had was actually when we started to go back to take it back to the private label piece, and actually adjusting that you actually have to step up to the mark, and where we actually had done an audit or whatever, and there was a few things that were actually pulled up within that audit, and we were brought into a room in Dublin. Myself and my sister at the time went up, and in there we faced 5 people across the table from us, all staring at us. More or less, sort of said, how could you have fallen down on these few key pieces of the audit? And as such, we were then giving them a fantastic product. We were doing everything the best we could. But the piece we didn't realise was, man, you're not just selling your own brand here anymore. You're actually representing our company as well. You need to know about that, and you need to step up to the mark. And I suppose when we were faced, at that meeting we were faced with, we could have been thrown out if we didn't give the right answers. But what we sort of said, right, absolutely, we're going back. We're going home this evening. We're going to address this, and this will not happen again. We never went back in front of that supermarket or any other supermarket being questioned about, are our standards up to the mark or not. Today our standards are up to it, and we don't supply unless our standards are up there. And they're the key pieces, and sometimes that makes us say no. I suppose there are other darker days when someone phones you up and starts saying, listen, can you do this for us? And suddenly we said no in the last year or two, and started saying, well, listen, we can't do it. We can't do it at that. Sometimes it comes down to price, and they start saying, well, listen, we can't do it at that price because we can't guarantee you the quality. If we can't guarantee the quality, we're not giving it to you. We won't do something that's cheap and cheerful.
Being a manufacturing business, it must be very capital intensive. And in that regard, how supportive have the banks been?
We were very slow to run anyone down because everyone contributes to our business. And to say, like, the banks would be in a difficult position over the last number of years, they did support us absolutely. And in tough times, when our credit days were tight or whatever, they have sort of pulled out the stops actually to support us. So I'll have to sort of say our banks have been very supportive. It is a very capital intensive business in the sense of, we at times we're given 30, 60, 90 days credit to some of our suppliers. Are actually the people where we're buying our product in a lot of cases look for pro forma invoice and particularly because we buy packaging and glass and so forth from outside of Ireland. They expect you to pay because of Ireland's reputation abroad in the last number of years hasn't been great. So, there's those type of pressures. So it is a capital intensive. The machinery we put in are capital intensive. We use a lot of oil, we use a lot of energy and so forth into production and that. But we're getting over all that, I think, there's very few people who haven't supported us. I don't think there's anyone that hasn't supported us over a number of years. Let them be financial institutions, let them be government agencies and so forth. It's knowing the right people in them and being told, asking all the questions and networking and so forth that gives us, the edge on that. I suppose, Karl, just to come back to you on the piece of the banking piece and so forth. The piece that really guaranteed, that for the banks to continue support to us is the support that was actually behind us. It was the Enterprise Boards, Enterprise Ireland, Board B, Chagas, all the people that had given us such advice over the years. We're able to reel them in and the banks were able to contact them, listen, to go in the right places and so forth. That gives the bank huge confidence. And it is all about giving the bank confidence to support us.
You've certainly achieved a lot for Killowen Farm over the last 7 years. I'd like to know what your plans are for the next 7.
Yeah, I suppose, Karl, the first thing to say is our business is still very much in its infancy. We're not a big shining company out there at the moment. We're still a very small company. We employ 8 full-time people. We've a couple of part-time people. So we're a company that's very much in its infancy still. So I suppose where we're looking to is going forward is that we're Killowen to become nationwide is a big priority of ours now, to get it out right out through the whole country. But at the same time, we won't be ignoring our local suppliers and our customers that have supplied, have kept us in good stead and are the foundation of our business. But to get out there nationally and actually build on that. So that's one part of the business. The next piece, I think, export particularly is where we will concentrate on and are concentrating on is actually to get more listings out in the UK. If we can get them actually in our own brand, that would be a super achievement for us. If not, if we don't get it there, we'll actually go on and back into the own brand side of things. We'll actually go and get it out there in that format. I think we've great plans for the extension to our own plant going forward into the future. Product development, we hope, is going to form a huge part of our business. Actually, we not only that, we'll do yogurt, we'll do soft cheeses. We might even venture into a bit of cheese. We might look into creme fraiches, sour creams. All that side is a huge part of our business products that we can develop that use actually the same method more or less as how we make yogurt. So I think there's huge potential for us out there going forward, but we just need to build it bit by bit. I don't think we've taken any huge steps forward. I think it'll be all sort of still reasonably where I suppose we've come from the stage of crawling. We're now probably walking, and we'd like to get into a slow jog. And I think if we can get into a slow jog in the next year or two, I think we'll absolutely be thrilled. But huge plans going forward. both in Ireland and hopefully within the UK.
Well, Nicholas, it's certainly been a very insightful interview. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you continued success.
You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Think Wexford Insurances for your business insurance.